were you in Cape Cod?
I was all the way at the end in Funky Town. P-Town, all the way at the end, man. I spent 2 summers down there. It was crazy amazing.
Oh, man. That's where we always end up going when we go visit. So, yeah.
So you've been to P-Town?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
my God,
yep.
That's amazing.
It's an amazing place. I always take lots of pictures. The artistry there is just incredible. But I do.
Boy, I woke up a lot in that town.
Yeah.
I saw things.
Yeah, there's stuff I don't. Yeah, I'm not crazy about some of the culture there. Let's just say it that way. But I don't think it started out that way. I don't think that was what right after the Pilgrims wrote the Mayflower Compact and stepped on that earth there. I don't think that's what they saw in P-Town. I think
it's a beautiful little Portuguese settlement. And Portuguese are very strong there, and there's a lot of Portuguese restaurants, and the food is amazing. And I had a lot of local friends. So even though it's a town of about 5,000 in the winter that explodes to 100,000 in the summer as a gay mecca. And I don't think it is what they intended, but it is what it became. And we can talk about this another time, but let's just say there's really nothing that I haven't seen.
Okay.
And experience.
We'll steer clear of some of that, Mindy. No, I'm just kidding.
But
kidding.
What's important, but it's a part of the story, and it's a part of my love for humanity. And so I understand that world. I lived in that world for a couple of years. And I found a way to appreciate that world. But I also definitely saw the good and the bad of that world. And and I think that there's some conversations there for sure, having witnessed human trafficking firsthand, right underneath my nose, human slavery right underneath my nose, and not understanding what it was until I was able to actually get out of it and look back on it and say, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I understand what this is. I see it. Once I started studying human trafficking and human slavery and child trafficking, and I studied that extensively for over 10 years, and this evil Satanism that you start experiencing. You start looking back on some of the things that you witnessed, and you don't really know that you're witnessing it until after the fact, and you're like, holy crap, that's what they were doing right underneath my nose. So
that's a really important topic, and we should talk about it. And I think you're going to be in shock when you find out the relationship between that and the birth certificate.
No, I don't think I will be shocked, but I think that I'll have a pen in hand and I'm ready to learn for sure.
Yeah, this has got an impact that you won't soon forget. Before we started recording this call, we talked on the phone a little bit about what this show was going to be, what we were going to discuss, and so let me go into a little bit of that in my history, and then we can move along to this discovery that I think I made this morning.
Nice.
It kind of relates to what I'm talking about in my recent history. So we're talking about how what I would like to help people learn how to do is basically what I did a couple of years ago. We had a tragedy in the family, and I had to leave the unincorporated area where I am in Alaska and go back down to the belly of the beast. And so I've got no papers, and I'm a WAP, which is an Italian without papers, in a way.
So before you go further, let's define what you mean by you have no papers. What papers are you talking about?
Any of the state-issued identity or registration. And that's by choice. That's we kind of got into that the other day. How do you do that? And yada, yada. So basically, I needed to fly, right?
So you have no driver's license, no passport, no state ID.
Right, exactly. Okay. That's what I mean. And I'm not the gypsy WAP that my sister is, but I am now. I could call myself a WAP and actually literally be without papers. And
so a little background on that for the folks who don't understand what WAP means. It's a slur kind of a word for Italians in New York. I don't know if they use it other places, but it was kind of a slur, derogatory nickname because the Italians, a lot of them that came to Ellis Island, came without papers. And so WAP is short for without papers from the Italians. And I think it's turn of the century, 1900s phenomenon. And that's my people. So
that's my people as well, and partly. And I kind of explained how my grandfather had come from Spain, and he did go through Ellis Island. He was Spanish. My parents, my mother's grandparents came. They were supposed to go to Argentina and join their family, who became very well-known tailors in Argentina. But my great-grandfather had other ideas, and he took my great-grandmother to New York instead of to join her family in Argentina. I don't believe they went through Ellis Island. So they were already married when they got to New York, and so that's my mother's side. And on my father's side, my Spanish grandfather married a Heinz 57 British, Heinz 57 type English woman whose family had been in Putnam County, New York for ages, from 1640s, and been in the Revolutionary War as an officer. So,
wow.
Or one ancestor, Abraham Hyatt, had been in the Revolutionary War as an officer, and I have his commission papers and all. So it's a really interesting mix, and probably really lent to my personality as it is, because we had New Yorkers from the city and New Yorkers from the country. And so we had the law of the city and the law of the land right built into our family fabric.
Nice.
And as I started to study this, it became really interesting. So anyway, so I don't use WAP as a term of derision. We all used it as kids and called ourselves WAPs. And when we lived in Italy, we called the Italians WAPs, So
yeah, we did too. Yeah, we did too. As an Italian, we used it, but other people used it,
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So that, I guess maybe that pertains a little bit to the woke movement right now. But anyway, so about this trip back to Portland 2 years ago, I had to get on an airplane, and I explained it to you in a way that, like, I want people to understand how this is possible and why this is possible and who I am and why I can do this. But I traveled from Fairbanks to Portland in an airplane, and then from Portland down to Mountain View, California, went in a car. From San Francisco to Salt Lake City, went in an airplane. From Salt Lake City area to Memphis, Tennessee, went in a car. From Memphis back to Salt Lake, went in an airplane. Then went on a bus, like a Greyhound bus, from Salt Lake area to Big Bear, California, picked up an unregistered truck, and a camper down in the border, a town, El Centro, that was, I think it was registered in Alaska. So the camper, little tiny camper, was Alaskan, and we were driving this unregistered truck back up from lower 48 up to Alaska. Went from El Centro through a checkpoint in Arizona, went back up to the Salt Lake area, left that area, went to northern Idaho, to the border.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
So forgive me for interrupting, but I just want to make this clear. So without a driver's license, a passport, or any state-issued ID, you took planes, trains, automobiles, no train, but a plane, a bus, and you drove a vehicle. You went into Mexico?
No. No,
you did not cross the Mexican border. Okay, you did not cross the Mexican border, but you did cross the Canadian border.
Right. So then from northern Idaho, we did cross. We went into Canada. That was, one of those little gate guards. We didn't even have to get out of the car. Then we drove through Canada, had wonderful times in, all the hot springs there all through, and spent about 6 or 7 days, I don't remember.
Nice.
And camped and ate wild mushrooms for breakfast and that delicious Canadian butter that for some reason tastes different than ours. But anyway, we got to Alaska, and we did have to get out and go into the building and talk for a few minutes, and then we were sent back into Alaska.
And you crossed the Canadian border and the Alaskan border without any ID in a vehicle that was not registered, and you had no insurance.
Right.
Okay. Right. I have a million questions.
Okay, but before you don't let me forget this, I want to talk about full commercial liability. The entire trip was done under our own full commercial liability. So when people will get freaked out when they hear that you don't have insurance, but there is an explanation for that. There is a private indemnity bond that has been issued for all the people of the states as soon as they've corrected their status. So you're not being irresponsible when you do this, I promise you. Nothing that we've done has been irresponsible.
Okay.
Just to make that clear. So if we can go ahead into what your questions are now, and then don't let me forget to talk about the relationship between the registered vehicle, and I didn't drive. I never drove, and I never drove a vehicle. I traveled in a private automobile, and remember, the words matter. The words are what drive this thing that we call the law.
So you wanted to talk about the relationship between the registered vehicle and what?
Birth certificates.
Oh, okay. I have all these. I'm taking notes. Okay, great. So, a million questions. Okay, first of all, you're super badass. You've got balls of steel, and I love you, okay? Because I think that this is an amazing thing that you've done, and I know you did this 2 years ago, and I remember when you were doing this, and I knew you at the time, but I've never had a chance to talk to you about this, and I asked a mutual friend of ours a million questions, and I'm so glad that I finally get a chance to ask you these questions, because I, too, was going to do my paperwork back then and fully admit I did not have the guts to do it. And you did, and I am so proud of you, and I want to learn from you because I think this is absolutely amazing. So
I appreciate that.
Totally, yeah, and I hold you in very high esteem, and I hope that our listeners do too, because it takes, you got to have a certain kind of chutzpah, to do something like that. And so my first question for you is, what identification did you carry?
Sam's Club card. After I went to my son's work, they gave me a little pass from his job, and I put that in my folder. But I just carry what I do is I carry a notebook. It has all my declarations. It's got a copy of the certification of birth, which isn't a birth certificate, it's a certificate of live birth. I carried our power bill from our unincorporated place where we are out here on the land. So it's just proof that we're going home. The underlying thing is you've just got to know that anytime you want to, you can go anywhere you need to, and that you always have the right to go home. And this is under under the law of nations. You know, if you want to get reasonable and get legal, it's in the law of nations. You can always go home. So maybe you have 5 homes. You know, you obviously do, Mindy. You've been everywhere.
Okay, so the law of nations, what is that?
It's basically what the founders were using. I don't endorse it as my primary source of jurisprudence. So jurisprudence is we're going to talk about words and these kinds of things, but it's the philosophy of law. The law of nations is not my jurisprudence. It's the founders' jurisprudence, and it was written in the 1700s and transcribed. Basically, it's the natural law of nations. And somebody sent me a copy one time. I got it in the mail. I didn't even know where it came from, but I have a copy here. The writer is Emmer Vattel, Emmer Vattel, and you can just go look at it. Just go look at it on Amazon and see that it's there. But that's what the founders used when they came up with certain phrases in the Declaration of Independence and in the Constitution.
Okay. I got this. I'm taking all sorts of notes, man. This is wild. Okay. So you got onto planes, and this, of course, was just 2 years ago. So we're talking about, wasn't it 2018?
That's a good quiz. Probably, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I was thinking it was 2018. So you did this in, yeah. Huh?
Go ahead.
So we're talking about very recently that you got onto a plane. It sounds like 3 times, and did you encounter any law enforcement when you were driving the vehicle that was not registered or insured? Okay, so we wanted to talk about. There's a couple things that I have a million questions, but you talked about full commercial liability and private indemnity bond. So what does that mean? I have no idea.
Let's talk about that later because that's deeper. Let's go more surface right now.
Okay.
Let's just be on the surface here. When you travel on an airplane, you need a picture ID that matches with your name on the ticket. That's it. That is all you need.
So when you get up to the counter and they say, "Can I have your driver's license?" you don't have one, and you hand them your Sam's Club ID. I mean, here's my Costco card. What do they say?
Actually, this is important here. This is a really important juncture here. You're the living man. You're the living man. You created government to serve you, and the only thing they can do is create an offer to contract with you. So any question that sounds like a demand is just an offer to contract. So every offer to contract, in order to remain in honor in our society, you just have to accept the offer, but put in a proviso. So in other words, I need your ID is an offer to contract. So you say, what would you like to see? Okay. You've accepted the offer to contract, and then you've made the proviso. I want your ID. Well, what kind of ID would you like? And I pull out my notebook with plastic pages, and I start thumbing through. Do you want to see this? Do you want to see what do you think about this? How do you like this? So I just offer them everything through my notebook, and they say, don't you have a state-issued ID? That's another offer to contract. And as soon as you start to recognize that, then you are in the driver's seat. Well, you're in the traveler's seat. You're not a driver, and you don't use a vehicle. You're again. So
a traveler.
Anyway, you're a traveler. You are actually, that is true. You are a traveler.
Yes, I am. I am not a tourist. I am a traveler, and I've been a traveler my whole life. And I love that word.
Some of the stuff I have, on that particular trip, it was very important to me to be able to No, it wasn't that one. It was the previous time I had traveled. I had also traveled on a Sam's Club card because I was getting a lot of guilt from family members where most of the family is to say, we don't appreciate this crap you're into, and you've made your family and visiting your family secondary and a low priority. Mindy, and I know you can relate to this because what you told me the other day. You've made your family subordinate to your silly crap you do with law, would be, the short way to say what they were saying to me. So I said, oh, okay, fine, I'm coming. Watch this. So what I did the previous trip, probably 2 years earlier, was I went to the airport. Yeah, I went to the airport, and
I remember when this happened, too. Okay.
Oh, you do? Oh, you do? Oh, wow. You were around and I didn't know it. So, yeah, I just went and
because I've been friends with our mutual friend since 2015.
Okay, yeah. So I just went to the airport and I asked, because I knew the issue was not with the airplane, the airline, and it probably wasn't with the airport. The only issue was going to be with
NSA. TSA, yeah.
Yep. Yeah, NSA, TSA, whatever it is. Yeah, yeah. Good question. CCP probably. It's probably Chinese.
Right, these days for sure.
Probably it really is. And that would have sounded like hyperbole about 2 weeks ago, but now it sounds like, oh, it is the Chinese communists that want to know who's traveling. So I knew who the issue would be with. So you always go to the person that's got the highest authority in your local area. So I wanted to talk to the head of security of TSA at the Fairbanks International Airport. I got his business card, and I told him what I was doing and what my situation was, and he basically told me, you don't need ID to travel. All you need is a picture ID with your name on it. And I said, how about my Sam's Club card? He said, that'll be fine. So when I went through security, I had his picture, I had his business card, and I said, I talked to this man. I don't use the names of public people because I think it bothers them. So I'm not going to use his name. But I said, I got this business card, and I used his name. He told me just to present you with this. So, that's how it went.
So did you speak with him prior to your day of travel then?
Yeah, it was about a month before.
So about a month before you traveled, you went to the airport, you found out who this person was, you scheduled a meeting with him.
Right.
And you showed him all of your documentation or what? You showed him, did you bring your notebook with all of your plastic covered pages?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
and it was literally said,
what's that?
Did you get anything signed from him saying that this is all you need to travel, or just you using his name at the gate on day of travel?
Yeah, and I had his business card with me, and really all of this was almost above and beyond the call of duty. You didn't have to do any of this. You could probably just show up, and I haven't. Now, subsequently, I have done this, just show up with what I have, a notebook. And I understand that if you don't have a state-issued ID, you're going to have a one-on-one. It's not torture or anything. It's not even, they don't even take you in a room because I don't think they have the lawful authority or the legal authority to do that. They just do a search of your property, and they do a search of your body. So they do the pat-down. So that you can take that pat-down, and you can agree to the one-on-one. You can go through my backpack. You can go through, you can do a pat-down. But the whole time they're doing this, well, sometimes I feel like it and sometimes I don't. I'm educating that person that's in the TSA there about about some problems in Nazi Germany, or, why don't you just put me in the oven, or, is the oven on the other side, or, whatever it is.
Yeah.
If I'm, just depending on how I'm feeling, I might educate. Otherwise, I might just be completely quiet. And I've had good responses from these people. It's been a good experience. All the other sheeple in line, the compliant people, are not helping all of us to, with our rights and our duties. Our rights have corresponding duties. And so I figure it's just kind of an opportunity. But you are doing the one-on-one, and you can tell them, I'm doing this one-on-one under threat, duress, and coercion. The other thing that I have done is ask for the person in the highest position of authority in the airport today, and in international airports, that TSA person in the highest authority is there, so they will come to you and you can let them know that you are going to send a claim into the federal TSA, and let them know that you were searched, your property and your person was searched under threat, duress, and coercion. You're agreeing to it. You are making a provisional agreement. Yeah, I'll take the one-on-one, but I don't like it, and please bring your person in highest authority in the airport right now, depending on how much time you have to get to your gate.
Got it.
So
can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So I've got a bunch of notes here, and I want to go back to when you're at the gate, and I want to. You had said that when you're at the gate, you have to remember that I am a living man, and I created the government to serve me. And so wanted to bring up that we are going to have an entire discussion about the use of the word man, human, people, person, and what all this language means. And so when you hear a woman saying, I am a living man, I just wanted to, in case you caught that, listeners, that we are going to have that discussion later. That you offered to contract, that you make an offer to contract, that that's what it all is. And that to remain in the honor, you can throw a question back. So if they say, I need to see your ID, you can say, well, what would you like to see? And then you use the word proviso. I don't know if that word means.
Okay, so Mindy, would you please, let's see, let me think.
You want to look it up?
No. I want you to start to recognize. I want everyone to start to recognize that anytime any agent of any agency of any government asks you a question or demands anything, they are making an offer to contract. So if I said
because they work for a corporation, right?
Yeah. Yes. So they can't even really contract with the living man. So I don't bring that in. That's just something I happen to know. That's
right.
That's my basis. I have a basis for how I behave. So
okay.
So that's I'm not gonna bring that up. I'm just going to. My basis is rooted in law, but when I go out into the public, I'm in equity. So the two types of law in the Constitution are law and equity. And equity jurisdiction is all about contracts between corporations. Okay? We'll get into what your straw man and your juristic person later when we talk about the birth certificate. But when you're in the public, you're in the equity jurisdiction. So everything is about contracting, and it's about the art of the deal. It's about the art of the deal. So if I said, Mindy, I need you to send me a check for $1,000, okay? You'd say, I'd be happy to send you a check, provided that you do, clean out my gutters, fix my roof, agree to remove the snow for the whole winter. You're going to make provisos based on what you're going to need to get for that $1,000. It's just a provisional.
Provisional, yeah. So
it's conditions. It's conditions. You're adding conditions to the contract. So, what's really going on there in the airport is give me your state-issued ID as an offer to contract. Okay?
Got it.
And you're saying I'd be happy to identify myself in a way that works with my particular political status. So these are the things I have for you. maybe I'll give you my 3 witness statements from my mother, my brother, and my sister that say they know who I am, and it's got a picture on it, and I've done this, and it's notarized. Maybe I'll give you those. How about this?
So you have notarized. Hold on. You've notarized statements that confirm who you are.
Yeah,
and you have them. They're called witness what?
Witness statements.
Okay.
Someone who knows who you are. They've known you your whole life.
Okay. So in this little notebook, you have 3 witness statements that are notarized, that people that have known you your whole life. You have, what else is in this notebook of yours?
All of my declarations that I filed on the public record, but I don't really show those unless they ask to see my declarations, which they never will. A certificate of live birth, which you can get from the county where you were born. You don't want the birth certificate, you want a certificate of live birth. I have, like I said, my photocopies of my library card, my Sam's Club card, power bills, anything that cross-references the juristic person name with the state where I want to go, things like that. Just evidence of who, it's just different types of evidence of who you are that no one else would have if they weren't you, and it's got, sometimes they have pictures with the name, with the juristic name. Sometimes they have the name of the man or woman. So that kind of thing.
So you're using language I don't understand, so I need to ask you a question. You had said you use, you might have something that has the juristic name of somebody in the state that you're going to. What does that mean?
No, the juristic name would be, let's, for example, on your driver's license, it's Capitis Diminutio Maximus. It's all capital letters name.
Okay.
Right? So you might have, some of your evidences might have that all caps name with your address in Alaska. So you're crossing the border from Canada back into Alaska. So you have an evidence that you have that you're going home to Alaska, something like that.
But if you were going from Alaska down to the lower 48 through Canada in, non-COVID year, but it normally, would that still suffice?
Well, we're about to do it again, so I'll let you know. But yeah, it's more about what I know. It's more about what we know and how we're operating than anything else.
Got it.
And
well, that's what we're all trying to learn, and the more confident we are in what we know, the less we will rely on. It's like you said the first time, you came prepared for all of these things, but now because you've done it that, all those things aren't even necessary. But for somebody who has never done that before, any tools that we can have in our toolbook to build our confidence, it can't hurt.
Exactly. And right now we do have a global reset, and no one's in charge, I don't believe, except for us. The American states and American state nationals are the only ones that appear to be in charge. So right now is a great time to go. But what you said is true. Build your confidence. Start small.
Right.
And then to realize, and we're going to get into things like what is an arrest and false imprisonment, because I think every time you go through TSA, that is a claim that you have for an arrest and false imprisonment.
Oh, yeah, and anybody that's I know that I have been violated, and, anytime they touch my body, I'm being violated, but I was going through one time, and now I forget which airport I was in. I want to say that I was in Seattle, and just a little note here for the ladies, I was wearing a pad, and I had a skirt on, and not really thinking anything about a skirt with leggings, but I was flagged because I had a skirt on, and then I was flagged because, this extra thing showed up that they're like, we need to do a groin search. And I said, excuse me? And they're like, we need to do a groin search. And I said, what exactly does that mean? And they said, well, you need to spread your legs, and we are going to feel your groin from the back to the front and from the front to the back. And I said, you are going to rape me. And the lady looked at me, and she said, why don't we go in a private room? And being the person that I am, I said very loudly, oh, no, we are going to stay right here. If you are going to violate my body, you are going to do it in public with me announcing that you are going to rape me. Go for it. And I spread my legs, and she just looked at me, and I said, well, you want to do it? She's like, I think we should go into a private room. And somebody else came over and said, do we have a problem here? And I said, oh, no, there's not a problem, but evidently you're going to do and I'm really loud. Because I'm very loud. Good. And I'm like, evidently you're going to do a groin search of my body right now, and I just want everybody around to understand that this is happening against my wishes, and it is a violation of my personal body, and I am claiming this is rape, but this is what you're going to do, so have at it.
Yes.
And they were very uncomfortable.
You have a claim, Mindy. You have a claim. You're going to have to put that claim in. There's no statutes of limitation. They have done what you've done. You said you made your claim, but you haven't formalized it and asked to be paid a remedy for the violation. So we'll talk about that later too. But you do have a claim. You will always have a claim. If you die before your claim is in, your children can make the claim on your behalf. You have a claim. So,
wow. Okay. No kids here, but I understand what you're saying. Nice.
Yeah.
So we can talk about that later. Claims for TSA violations. And I'm just going to guess that probably just about everybody that's listening on this, if they've ever flown post 9/11, that they have a claim. So.
Yeah, they do. They do. And
I love this.
And the way we lose our rights, I'm just going to put, the way we lose our rights is by not putting the claims in. Okay.
So if I'm just watching the time right now. So the fourth thing that I have down here is you said that there's going to be a one-on-one, and one-to-one or one-on-one, and that here's what I have. Ask for a person of highest authority today at the airport. Let them know you are going to send plain federal PSA. That you were searched under threat, duress, and coercion. What is this one-to-one that you were talking about? Does that mean like a one-on-one person doing a body search?
It's a one and one.
One and one. What does that mean?
And it's just TSA lingo for we're going to search your carry-on and we're going to search you. The reason for calling over the person in charge at the airport is to get that person's name, to get the business card, to get the time it happened, to get all the particulars. Because when you write your affidavit or your sworn statement of truth or your declaration about this matter, you need to have the facts.
Right.
Because the claim will be based on the facts that are in evidence. If you have a witness, it's better because you basically want yourself as the first witness and a second witness. So now this TSA agent becomes a second witness or possibly a third witness. If you have someone traveling with you, they will be the second witness. They can write up a declaration as to what they saw. If you both are searched in a one-on-one, you have your second witnesses for each other, and each fact is established on the word of 2 or 3 witnesses. That's basic law. So that's
okay.
Something to keep in mind.
So I think that you have answered all of my questions on being a traveler without state or federal issued ID.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's going to be a whole lot more that comes through as we go through this, because the history is long and it's really, really deep. So it'll come out as we keep going forward. But just remember, recently we were in a conversation with a guy who says, what is ID? What is identity? And it basically means who you're identical to or what you identify with. So it is a personal. It's a private choice you make. Do you identify as a creature of the state or a creator of the state? And that makes all the difference.
Did you say a creature or a creator?
Did the state make you, or did you make the government? Yeah.
Nice. Creature versus creator. We've got a lot of verses, you know. There's a lot of things that we want to talk about that have this verses, and I think that that's going to become a real theme, because
Absolutely.
And it comes back to living in this illusion of thinking that it's one thing, but it's actually another. And what are the difference between these two things, and how, if you don't want to live in A anymore, how do you get to B? And I think that that's a really great segue into the birth certificate conversation. And if we...
What is it your governors can do? How is it that we have come to thinking and believing that anyone has more to say than you? Stand up, sing your song. Let us know the wisdom of your heart, that you belong, that we belong to you, that you belong to us, and that our love is all and true. How do we dance? How do we take that first step and commit to take a chance? Believe, just relax, 'cause no one ever died of trying to take the music back. Just leave it to them others to excuse. State your heart, be yourself. Oh, help us understand it's you and everybody else. I'll take a breath and I'll see it through. You know that I am more myself when I'm standing up for you. How is it that we don't see the pain which we exchange for circumstance made easy to believe in, where everybody's loss becomes a gain? Come forth, reach out your hand, be your brother's keeper this one time. Say he belongs, say we belong to him, that he belongs to us and that our love is all and true.